Once upon a time, in a kingdom very far away, there lived a king and a queen. The king and queen were fair rulers, and they were kind. The queen had a magic mirror, and the mirror knew everything and saw everything. Each day the queen looked in the mirror, and she asked it a question. However, slowly but surely the queen began to ask the same question each day. She said, "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the most beautiful of them all?" And every day the mirror replied, "You are my queen, you are the most beautiful woman in the whole wide world." And this made the queen very happy. But one day everything changed. The queen stood in front of the mirror and asked her question, "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the most beautiful of them all?" And the mirror replied, "You are very beautiful, my queen, but the most beautiful woman in the world is Snow White." The queen was shocked. "Who is Snow White?" she asked the mirror. "Snow White works in the castle kitchen, and she has hair as black as night." The queen was furious. She stomped her feet and then sat down and sobbed. The queen was afraid, and the fear turned her heart cold. She called a trusted huntsman to her room. "Find the girl Snow White," she ordered. "Take her far, far away, deep into the woods. She must never come back." The huntsman did as he was told, and he found Snow White. He took her into the forest, and he said, "Go, run as fast as you can, and never come back." Snow White did as she was told, and she ran through the forest until she found a little house in a clearing. There was a warm golden glow from the windows, and she knocked at the door. "Hello, is anyone in?" There was no answer, so she pushed the door open and went inside. Inside the cottage there were 7 tiny beds, 7 tiny chairs, and a roaring fire. A big table was covered with dirty dishes. Snow White was hungry and thirsty, and she found some bread and ate the whole loaf. She found some milk, and she drank it, and then she sat in front of the fire to warm up, and then she fell asleep. When she woke, there were 7 magical men standing around her. "Who are you?" she said. "This is our house," one of them said. "Who are you?" "Shh, you'll scare her," said another. "Can I stay with you?" said Snow White. "It seems I can't go home." The men whispered among themselves. "Okay," they agreed, "but only if you can help us." And so Snow White found a new home in the woods. She started by fixing their broken stair. Next, she did the dishes. The 7 magical men were very grateful. Back at the castle, the queen was feeling much better. She knew that Snow White was far gone. She looked at her mirror, and she said, "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And the mirror replied, "You are very beautiful, my queen, but Snow White is still the most beautiful woman in the world. She is living with 7 magical men in the forest." The queen was furious. She ran out of the palace, jumped in a carriage, and sped off for the forest. Snow White was reading beside the fire when there was a knock at the door. She peeked through the window, and there was an old woman standing there with a basket of fruit. Little did she know it was actually the queen in disguise. Fresh fruit, apples, bananas, and pears. "Oh, I would like some fruit," thought Snow White. "I love apples, but I'm not actually supposed to open the door for anyone." "Oh, don't be silly, my dear," said the old lady. "Here, take this apple. I am just an old woman. I wouldn't want to hurt anybody." Almost immediately, Snow White fell to the ground and fell into a deep sleep. The apple was poisoned. The queen sighed with relief and quickly got in her carriage and rode back to the castle. When Snow White's friends arrived back home, they saw her lying on the floor. "Is she okay?" they whispered. Together they lifted her onto a bed, and as they did so, a bit of the apple tumbled to the ground. Snow White's friends realized she had been poisoned, and with the help of a wise doctor, they managed to get her out of her deep, deep sleep. Meanwhile, at the castle, the queen asked her mirror, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And the mirror replied, "You are very beautiful, my queen, but Snow White is the most beautiful woman in the land." It was at this moment that the queen realized it didn't matter who was more beautiful. and she decided to cover up her mirror and leave it in an attic, never to be found again. And as for Snow White, she lived out her days with her new friends, deep in the forest, surrounded by nature, and they all lived happily ever after.